Hi guys, welcome to Educandom College's Selective Preparation Power Reading Test 3. Today we will be reading a poem called Death of a Tree by Jack Davis. Let's begin reading. The power soul screamed, then turned to a muttering. She leaned forward, fell. A sad abruptness in the limpness of foliage, in the final folding of limbs. I placed my hand on what was left. 100 years of grateful beauty ended, and the underside of leaves pale blended with the morning rain. Better for her to have been overpowered by wind or storm. That would have been a battle, a fitter end for such a forest giant than this ignoble inevitability, because man was involved. Man is pain. I walked away and left her, saddened, aware of my loss, yet still part of the gain. Now we'll be going through the questions. Question 9 reads, the poem is about A, the soaring down of a tree, B, the end of 100 years, C, the destruction of a storm, D, the death of an elderly woman. So if we quickly go back to the poem, the first thing that will indicate to us what the poem is about is the title. And the title is called Death of a Tree. So we know that the subject of this poem is a tree. They do use the she pronoun, but in the same manner that you call boats a she, the tree is a she. So if we go back, we can automatically cross out D, death of an elderly woman. We also know that it is A, the soaring down of a tree. B, the end of 100 years is true, but it's not specific about the tree. Question 10 reads, in the poem, personification is used. Which of the following is an example of personification? So quickly, we'll just revise what personification is. Remember that personification is the technique where you give a non-animate thing, such as a non-living thing, human qualities. For example, a human quality can be love, the ability to touch, the ability to speak. An inanimate thing, example, the tree. So let's see the options. A, the power soul screamed. B, 100 years of graceful beauty. C, blended with morning rain. Or D, fitter end for such a forest giant. So it can't be C, blended with morning rain. That technique is imagery instead. As nothing is being personified, there's no human quality. Same thing as B, 100 years of graceful beauty, imagery again. D, fit end for such a forest giant. We do have a forest giant, but that is a living thing, it could be. And a fitter end, all things end, which they're talking about death, so it can't be D, so it must be A. The power saw screamed. And we know that the inanimate object is the power saw, and the human quality is screaming, or the ability to scream. A, question 11 reads, better for her to be overpowered by wind or storm suggests A, all trees will eventually die. B, trees are often knocked down in storms. C, the tree had been damaged in a storm. Or D, the poets believed that this would be a more suitable and natural end to the tree's life. So we could cross out A first. All trees will eventually die. Well, that's true. That's not the main message of what this poem is about. Same thing as B, trees are knocked down in storms. We know that that's quite literal. They're asking for more of a metaphorical meaning. So it also can't be D, must be, it can't be C, it must be D. D is the poet's belief that this would be a more suitable and natural end to the tree's life. We'll just quickly go back and see this in the poem. So here, better for her to have been overpowered by wind or storm, there would have been a battle, a fitter end for such a forest giant than this ignoble inevitability, because man was involved. So let's go to question 12. Question 12 reads, what is the effect of repeating the phrase, then this? A, evokes abruptness. B, echoes the sore strokes. C, conveys the shock of the moment. Or D, accentuates the indignity. So then this, repeating, remember that's repetition. And we'll just quickly see where it is. I just read it earlier, but it's here. Then this ignoble inevitability. So of them, emphasizes abruptness. That's not true. So it's not quite abrupt to saw down a tree. B, echoes the sore strokes. Not quite, because they would probably use onomatopoeia, which remember is the sound word. C, conveys the shock of the moment. It could be, but if we just go back to the context of the line, it's not evoking shockness. the feeling here that they're conveying is sadness, depression, loss. So the only possible answer left is D, accentuates the indignity. Yeah, and that's true in these two lines there. Question 13. Question 13 reads, what does the poet mean when he writes part of the gain? A, trees are used to make products that people buy and use. B, the poet wanted the tree chopped down. C, trees are unimportant. D, the poet intended to keep the tree. So automatically we can cross two answers, which would be B and C. The poet wanted the tree chopped down. Remember, we just talked about how the feelings conveyed were sadness, loss, so you wouldn't want the tree chopped down. C, trees are unimportant. That's not true. We use them for a lot of things, so we must have A or D. And we know that it's not D, the poet intended to keep the tree. This isn't indicated. It's not that the poet wanted to keep the tree for use. It's more like they're just sad that the tree has to be cut down, so it must be A. Trees are used to make products that people buy and use, and we know that, for example, paper, money, etc. Question 14 reads, how does the poem structure relate to its subject matter? A, it echoes the abruptness of the tree's fall. B, it mirrors the tree's slow decay. C, it mimics the rhythmic sounds of the power saw. D, it conveys the jarring shocks of machinery. So we know that previously a similar question, it's not C, doesn't mimic the sounds, that would be onomatopoeia. B, it mirrors the tree's slow decay. The tree didn't have a slow decay, it was cut down, so it must be A. It echoes the abruptness of the tree's fall, or the sudden loss of having this tree taken away from you. So it also can't be D. It conveys the jarring shocks of machinery. While that could be true, it's not as true as A. So before we end this video, I'm just going to quickly go over the answers again. So 9 was A, 10 was A, 11 was D, 12 was D, 13 was A, and 13 was A again. So great advice here would be make sure you read the poem really carefully and use things that you know are poetry techniques, such as personification, imagery, and onomatopoeia. Hey, thank you guys so much for coming to Educational College's Selective Preparation Power Reading Test 3. I'll see you guys next time.